Welcome to our podcast on A Course in Miracles. We're so happy to have you with us today. We've been having a string of gray days here in Washington, and maybe if we get clear on this, the sun will come out. This is still Chapter 10, Section 4, The End of Sickness. That would be nice, huh?
Yeah.
End of sickness. That would also imply the end of pain, the end of suffering, the end of problems,
end
right?
End of discomfort.
Any problems we have, any discomfort we have, any pain we have, any fear we have, it would be the end of that. Okay, so paragraph 1. All magic is an attempt at reconciling the irreconcilable. All religion is the recognition that the irreconcilable cannot be reconciled.
Wow. What does that mean? All religion.
Well, let's read the paragraph and see. Sickness and perfection are irreconcilable. If God created you perfect, you are perfect. If you believe you can be sick, you have placed other gods before him. God is not at war with the god of sickness you made, but you are. He is the symbol of deciding against God, the god of sickness now. He is the symbol of deciding against God, and you are afraid of him because he cannot be reconciled with God's will. If you attack him, you will make him real to you. But if you refuse to worship him in whatever form he may appear to you, and whatever you think you see him, wherever you think you see him, he will disappear into the nothingness out of which he was made.
Read that last one again.
But if you refuse to worship him, meaning the god of sickness, in whatever form he may appear to you, and wherever you think you see him, he will disappear into the nothingness out of which he was made.
That means not give him any attention. Refuse to worship the sickness means...
Yeah, well, that's pretty hard to do for people who are experiencing pain in their body, right? So we have to address that. So what do you do when you're experiencing pain in your body? Let's see if this section can tell us. Because obviously something in your mind has made up the pain, right?
Yeah.
All right. So at least we know that the pain is there because we have some form of misperception. So wouldn't it follow that if we correct the misperception, the pain would disappear?
Yeah.
All right.
You think
So how do we correct the misperception? Well, one way of correcting it is to not give so much attention to the pain.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's like at some point you have to shift your focus away from the pain onto something that feels good.
Yeah.
All right, so reality can dawn only on an unclouded mind. It is always there to be accepted, but its acceptance depends on your willingness to have it. To know reality must involve the willingness to judge unreality for what it is. To overlook nothingness is merely to judge it correctly, because of your ability to evaluate it truly, to let it go. Knowledge cannot dawn on a mind full of illusions, because truth and illusions are irreconcilable. Truth is whole and cannot be known by part of a mind. Well, I still think that there's a point where you have your problem. You have your pain in your body, you have your financial problem, you have your business problem, you have your relationship problem, whatever that is. Now, at some point, you're going to have to shift focus away from the problem onto something that makes you feel good. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but that's hard to do for people when they're so distracted by it.
Well, yeah, it is a distraction, but at some point you're going to have to decide to not be distracted. Otherwise, You're doing what this says, magic, attempting to reconcile with the irreconcilable. Truth and illusions are irreconcilable. So if it's not true, the cause of your pain, which would not be true because it wouldn't be perfect happiness, right? You would be trying to will something that's not the will of God, and therefore it's not true. So the source of the pain is something not true. And if you're trying to fix it, then you're trying to reconcile the irreconcilable with the reconcilable.
Oh, in other words, if you're trying to fix it, you're making it real, and that makes it
In other words, yes.
kind of. Oh my God.
All religion is a recognition that the irreconcilable cannot be reconciled. Sickness and perfection are irreconcilable. So it's interesting, a person might have a personal lie, I'm not perfect, and then spend their whole life trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
They're trying to reconcile the imperfection with the perfection.
Yeah.
And this is saying you can't. You have to give up the illusion of imperfection.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
And just like you have to give up the illusion of pain. I choose the joy of God instead of pain. Well, what do you think you're doing when you're doing that?
The illusion of perfection.
If you're choosing the joy of God instead of pain, even though you're feeling the pain, you're moving your attention away from the pain onto something else called joy.
Okay.
So you still, no matter what the problem is, you have to shift your focus away from the problem onto the solution, which would be the joy, which would be the perfection.
So pain is and imperfection are illusions, is what I have to get.
Yes.
Instead of trying to fix them, I have to see them as an illusion.
Yes.
Okay.
And you have to shift your attention away from them onto something that's happy, feeling good, that. Then your mind is not clouded, and you're not trying to reconcile the irreconcilable.
Oh, okay.
Reality can dawn only on an unclouded mind. Well, what's the unclouded mind? It's when you decide to choose joy instead of pain. And joy in this sense, I choose the joy of God. Now, the joy of God is like perfect happiness, and that is absolute. It doesn't have an opposite. It's not relative. It's not like it's a joy today and it's a sorrow tomorrow. No, it's only joy and can only be joy, and it never reverts to an opposite. It doesn't have an opposite. It's like once you're in heaven, there is no hell. It's a state of being that doesn't have opposites. So if you're trying to fix the pain, you're still believing that the pain is real, and you're adding energy to the pain by trying to fix it.
Yeah, this is important, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. So let's move on. 3. The sonship cannot be perceived as partly sick, because to perceive it that way is to not perceive it at all. If the sonship is one, it is one in all aspects. Oneness cannot be divided. If you perceive other quote gods, your mind is split, and you will not be able to limit the split, because it is the sign you have removed part of your mind from God, capital God's will.
Can you go over that now?
Well, if you're focused on your problem, you're divided. Your mind is split. you're making your problem real. Then you're saying there's this thing that's real over here called my pain and my sorrow and my problem and my sickness and my, being screwed up. And then there's this will of God over here that's perfect happiness. And I'm trying to reconcile the two.
Okay.
And this says you can't reconcile them. You have to stop splitting your mind and see that the source of the pain is not there. It's not something to be fixed. It's not something to be gone in there, find it, turn it around, make it right. No, it's something to be seen as an illusion. That's the only right approach to it. Like, okay, if I see that yeah, I'm feeling the pain, but what is the source of the pain? The source would be a thought that's not true. So why are we trying to change that to make that thought somehow go away? No, we just see that it's not true and put our focus on the true. And then our mind isn't split. It's back to oneness. It's back to wholeness. It's not divided. Oneness cannot be divided. If you perceive other gods, your mind is split and you will not be able to limit the split, because it is a sign that you have removed part of your mind from God's will. This means it is out of control. To be out of control is to be out of reason, and then the mind does become unreasonable. By defining the mind wrongly, you perceive it as functioning wrongly. Well, yeah, you believe that your mind is capable of making up pain and suffering, and that's perceiving wrongly, and that's your mind functioning wrongly. God's laws will keep your mind at peace, because peace is His will, and His laws are established to uphold it. His are the laws of freedom, but yours are the laws of bondage. Since freedom and bondage are irreconcilable, their laws cannot be understood together. The laws of God work only for your good, and there are no other laws beside His. Everything else is merely lawless and therefore chaotic. Yet God Himself has protected everything He created by His laws. Everything that is not under them does not exist. Well, okay, so sickness is not under the laws of God, right?
Yeah.
You've made sickness up with thoughts that are not perfect happiness. Thoughts that are not the will of God. Therefore, your mind is split. And that's partly what sickness is. It's a manifestation of a split mind. So now this is saying, the laws of God work only for your good, and there are no other laws beside His. Everything else is merely lawless and therefore chaotic. Yet God Himself has protected everything He created by His laws. Everything that is not under them does not exist. Quote-unquote laws of chaos is a meaningless term. Creation is perfectly lawful, and the chaotic is without meaning because it is without God. You have given your peace to the small gods you made, but they are not there to take it from you, and you cannot give it to them. So the gods of anything but peace are not even there. Gods you made up of sickness are not even there. And you want to reconcile with them, but they're not even there to reconcile with. You have given your peace to the gods you made, but they are not there to take it from you, and you cannot give it to them. You are not free to give up freedom, but only to deny it. You cannot do what God did not intend, because what he did not intend does not happen. Your gods do not bring chaos. You are endowing them with chaos and accepting it of them. All this has never been. Nothing but the laws of God has ever been, and nothing but his will ever be. You were created through his laws and by his will, and the manner of your creation established you a creator. What you have made is so unworthy of you that you could hardly want it if you were willing to see it as it is. You will see nothing at all, and your vision will automatically look beyond it to what is in you and all around you. Reality cannot break through the obstructions you interpose, but it will envelop you completely when you let them go.
Reality will envelop me completely when I let go.
Yeah, so whatever problem we're having, it's a matter of letting go. Like, let's just say you have a pain, and you truly say, well, it's the part of my mind that's not even there that made this up, and I'm going to let that go. Well, what do you think would be the next thing that enters your mind if you truly have let it go?
Something good, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's going to be something that makes you feel good, and you're going to give your attention to that. And then the more you give attention to the things that make you feel good, you're not even going to notice the pain, and it'll dissipate. Because your focus is on reality, which is perfect happiness. So pain is just teaching. It's a teaching. All things are lessons God would have me learn. It's kind of a teaching or a lesson of denial, but denial in the right sense of the word. It's like, once I notice I have the pain, I have to deny it. I have to deny that it comes from a source that's not there. I have to deny the source.
I have to not deny, not that it comes from that, I have to deny the source.
Well, yeah, you're denying that the source is not, you're seeing that the source is not there.
You're seeing it's not there.
But you're denying your affiliation with it.
Okay, I'm seeing that the source of this is not there.
And then you have to deny
my affiliation
your obsession with it, your connection to it, your focus on it. You have to move your focus away from it.
Okay.
So I'll read it again. You are not free to give up freedom, but only to deny it.
Yeah, denying freedom.
Well, we've been denying freedom by having the pain. You cannot do what God did not intend, because what he did not intend does not happen. So this denial of freedom is something the ego does. And then it makes up a pain, and then you're stuck. And then you're trapped in this, dilemma of the irreconcilable. And then you want to try to get rid of it. You want to try to fix it. You want to try to... But all the time, you're giving reality to something that's not there. You're giving reality to a source of thoughts that are not there. I'm not perfect. I'm bad. I'm in a state of pain. All these decisions you're making.
Giving reality to something that's not there.
Yeah, the thoughts that are not true are not there. Just let's get through this.
I want to write that down.
You can listen to this again. Your vision will automatically look beyond it. Well, this is like the source of your problem is not there, it's saying. Your gods do not bring chaos. You are endowing them with chaos and accepting it of them. All this has never been. Nothing but the laws of God has ever been, and nothing but His will ever be. You were created through His laws and by His will, and the manner of your creation established you as a creator. What you have made is so unworthy of you that you could hardly want it if you were willing to see it as it is. You will see nothing at all. Meaning, the pain that I've made up has no real source. It's just projected. Your vision will automatically look beyond it to what is in you and all around you. Reality cannot break through the obstructions you interpose, but it will envelop you completely when you let them go. All right, so it can't do anything until you let it go. And you always kind of laugh at me when I say you've done everything except nothing. You haven't totally let go. You think you have to find a solution, and you have to be the one fixing it. Well, what if you didn't have to do anything except stop doing that and just let go, which people find hard to do. Because we've been taught you got a problem, you want to try to come up with a solution. Well, this is saying the problem you think you have doesn't even exist. Even if you are feeling the pain. Because the source of it's not there.
I was making real what was not there.
Yeah, and that made you in a split mind, and it gave you pain. Okay. When you have experienced the protection of God, the making of idols becomes inconceivable. There are no strange images in the mind of God, and what is not in His mind cannot be in yours, because you are of one mind, and that mind belongs to Him. It is yours because it belongs to Him, for to Him ownership is sharing. And if it is so for Him, it is so for you. His definitions are His laws, for by them He established the universe as what it is. No false gods you attempt to interpose between yourself and your reality affect the truth at all. Peace is yours because God created you, and He created nothing else. So, peace, perfect happiness, a state free of problems, the heaven that we all say we want to be in, it was created by God, and it's here, and God didn't create anything else. And the Course would say anything not of God does not exist, meaning pain and suffering. So you've projected all of that, and you have to stop projecting it. The miracle is the act of a Son of God who has laid aside all false gods and calls on his brothers to do likewise. Well, what's laying aside false gods? It's I'm going to stop projecting my illusions that has put me in pain. It's an act of faith, because it is the recognition that his brother can do it. Well, you have to think that your brother can get out of his dilemmas at the same time you get out of yours. Like, you can't free yourself or return to freedom if you don't bring your brothers into the same freedom that you want to be in. You can't be free and have other people bound. It's like that lesson that says, no one is crucified alone and no one enters heaven by themselves. So if you're attacking someone, you're going to be attacked with them. And if you want to give up attack and be free, you have to bring other people with you. You have to enter heaven with your brothers. First, you have to see that if I attack anything, I'm attacking myself. No one's crucified alone. And then you have to see that when I give up attack and I enter into freedom, I have to see my brothers as capable of the freedom too. Let's start again. The miracle is the act of a Son of God who has laid aside all false gods and calls on his brothers to do likewise. It is an act of faith because it is the recognition that his brother can do it, meaning give up his illusions.
Yeah.
It is a call to the Holy Spirit in his mind, a call that is strengthened by joining. Because the miracle worker has heard God's voice, he strengthens it in a sick brother by weakening his belief in sickness, which he does not share. The power of one mind can shine into another because all the lamps of God were lit by the same spark. It is everywhere and it is eternal. Well, that's a beautiful line. The power of one mind, like one mind who's accepted God's will and has seen that anything you make up that's not God's will is not true, and therefore even the consequences of it are not real. In this case, pain. Let's say somebody's experiencing pain. Well, where do you have to correct that? At the level it was made up, which would be thoughts. Thoughts that are not true made up the pain. Therefore, they're illusions. Therefore, the pain is an illusion.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so when we see that, it's like you can't try to make a not true thought true. You just let go of the not true thought. There's nothing to reconcile. There's only something to let go of, which would be your misperceptions that made you feel the pain in the first place.
I let go of everything that's not true? Is that the right
Yeah. And you also see that your brother's not sick either, because he's doing the same thing you were doing, making thoughts, trying to make thoughts real that are not real,
Yeah.
which split his mind and gave him pain. So you're going to stop doing that, and then you're going to see that your brother can stop doing that too. It is an act of faith because it is a recognition that his brother can do it. It is a call to the Holy Spirit in his mind, a call that is strengthened by joining. Because the miracle worker has heard God's voice, he strengthens it in a sick brother by weakening his belief in sickness, which he does not share. Well, you have to weaken your belief in sickness in yourself before you can weaken it in your brother, but you also have to weaken it in your brother too.
Yeah. That's what you're doing with me right now.
I'm trying to.
Uh-huh.
The power of one mind can shine into another because all the lamps of God were lit by the same spark. That's such a beautiful line. The power of one mind, one person who's not making their illusions real, can light the lamps of all his brothers that are still making their illusions real and shine away the illusions. Because all the lamps of God were lit by the same spark. So, like the Christ lights the spark in me, and then I light the spark in others. That's kind of the order here. Like, it's the clarity of the Christ that can shine away your illusions. And then that's the spark. That's the lamp. That's the light. That's the forgiveness. Forgiveness is the light of the world. Well, what's forgiveness? Forgiveness is supreme letting go of everything that's not true, including all the thoughts that gave you pain. Okay, let's complete it. In many, only the spark remains, for the great rays are obscured. Okay. In many, only the spark remains, for the great rays are obscured. Yet God has kept the spark alive so that the rays can never be completely forgotten. If you but see the little spark, you will learn of the greater light, for the rays are there unseen. Perceiving the spark will heal, but knowing the light will create. Yet in returning the little light must be acknowledged first, for the separation was a descent from magnitude into littleness. But the spark is still as pure as the great light, because it is the remaining call of creation. Put all your faith in it, and God himself will answer you. Well, that's like saying, well, everyone has the spark. Well, everyone also has the great rays, but they're not seeing them either, right? They're not seeing the rays, and they're not seeing the spark. And in order for you to really be who you are as God created you and be in your creative flow, you know, where you're co-creating with your Creator and you're inspired and your life is a divine destiny to fulfill, you have to see the great rays. But you're not. But they're there in you. So the first step is to see you got a spark. Now, you can't see the great rays, but you can see the spark. It's a little spark, right? You have to start there with the spark. If there's grievances you have to start letting them go. All right? So grievances are, the spark can let go of a grievance. So the more you use the spark and you let go, all right? I'm not going to think this thought that made me sick. I'm not going to think this thought that put me in conflict. I'm not going to think this thought that gave me fear. You use the spark to undo those individual thoughts, right? And that's work you have to do. You have to catch yourself when you're misperceiving and stop it. Now, that's forgiveness in action, but it's small. It's like, don't make this a big deal, make it a small deal at first. Oh, I can spend my day and catch myself when I'm thinking a depressing thought and change it. And you use the spark to do that. And now, when you do that enough, you're not going to have depressing thoughts. You're going to be with the light. You're going to be with the joy. Now that's the great rays it's talking about.
The joy, yeah.
In many, only the spark remains, for the great rays are obscured. Yet God has kept the spark alive, so that the rays can never be completely forgotten. If you but see the little spark, you will learn of the greater light, for the rays are there unseen. So everyone has the rays, but they're just not seeing them. Perceiving the spark will heal, but knowing the light will create. All right, so at first you need the healing because your thinking is so off, right? You need a healed perception. You need Christ's vision. But then once you get closer to Christ's vision, you see the great rays, and now you can create something. But you can't even come close to creation until you correct yourself. That's why, Taraji said you have to develop a love of correction. That's the first step, and that's what the Course is about. It's correcting our mind. And you've even said the Course itself is a correction of religion. So this correction with the spark of forgiveness is absolutely necessary. And then maybe later, when you've done that enough and you're serious enough about it, you'll get enlightened enough to see the great light, the great rays, and you'll have something to give humanity. But until then, you got work to do. You got undoing to do.
That's powerful.
Yet in returning, the little light must be acknowledged first, for the separation was a descent from magnitude to littleness. So most people find themselves in the littleness that they made up. So you've got to use the spark of forgiveness. These isolated incidents of forgiveness. They seem to be isolated. They're really connected, but they seem individual acts of forgiveness with the spark, because that's all you can handle. You've made yourself so little and you've got so many things in your life that you're not perceiving correctly, you have to apply the forgiveness to all those things. But the spark is still as pure as the great light, because it is the remaining call of creation. Put all your faith in it, and God himself will answer you. You know, it talks later about the little willingness. You only need a little willingness to make a change. That's this spark. And then once you use that to forgive yourself, forgive others, then you start to really let go, and this greater light, the great rays can come in. Something like that. And that's, like this section said, the end of sickness.
Thank you.
Thank you.